What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to my channel, Alchemist. Justin here, and bring another little nugget to add to the Soul Tribe archive. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about Mars and Taurus in the 12th house. And this is kind of a tough place for Mars to be in. Now, when you talk about that fiery Mars, the nature of Mars, well, I should start off. Mars is the one in ancient astrology known as the lesser malefic. So Mars is going to, one, can introduce some challenges, especially if you have a day chart, you want to keep eyes on Mars. Whereas a night chart, you can work more constructively. The challenges are more surmountable with Mars in a night chart. But Mars can deal with things when it's exacerbated. It can be wrathful, it can be angry, aggressive, just very kind of, yeah, abrasive sometimes. There's even a deceptive quality that can come with Mars. Mars can even sometimes bring up, the malefics can represent like the sicknesses of the body, the illness, inflammation. Mars is kind of like a hot, dry, cutting, separating type of energy. But when used constructively, though, Mars can bring about this sense of, just going into action. This Mars can produce like commanders and this sense of those leaders, those who know how to take charge in a crisis, those who know how to, just to jump to action and to solve the problem, to be that unstoppable force. So Mars can be, again, when worked with constructively, can be one that is elevating. But again, you just want to pay attention. If you have Mars in a day chart, Mars can be a bit more challenging. Now, when you talk about Taurus, Taurus is ruled by the lovely Venus, and they are the fixed Earth sign, and they are receptive or yin in nature. And being ruled by Venus, I always like to equate Taurus with just nature, and just the real kind of creative quality of Taurus. I think that they have this capacity of working with the material, that earth energy, of being able to create things of long-lasting beauty, whether it be with their, Taurus rules the throat, is associated with the throat, so there can be this, lovely singing voices. I mean, look at most of the Tauruses. Most of the singers, they all got some kind of Taurus going on. But it could be either with that, or maybe it's in playing instruments, maybe it's building things, whatever that is. I find that Taurus energy is one that is, it goes again at the pace of nature. There's a calming, real grounded, sort of sense, I think, with Taurus there, and it has a way of really working and attracting and accumulating the resources there. So it's really, I think, really cool when you're working with Taurus. And then when you get to the 12th house, this is one of the tougher houses, probably the toughest house. This in ancient astrology is known as the house of bad spirit. And it's one of the Caden houses. And some of the themes that it's going to cover are going to deal with themes of like loss, sicknesses, especially like long-term illnesses. It can deal with enemies, in particular, kind of like those sort of hidden enemies, kind of secretive things. It can deal with like confinement, imprisonment, sorrows, troubles, tribulations. Really, again, really kind of tough house when we're talking about the 12th. So when we're working with this placement, a few things to consider. One, you would have a Gemini rising by whole sign, and you're going to want to look to Venus, because Venus is going to import the themes of this house and the themes of the 5th house to wherever it is. And the 5th house deals with like children, pregnancy, creativity, pleasures, sex, things like that. And then Mars is going to import the themes of the 11th house, which deals with like your friends, groups, alliances, your hopes and dreams, and also the 6th house, which deals with like your illnesses, injuries, work, subordinates, pets. So one thing that I would, just starting off right off the bat, considering that Mars is not just the Mars is very tied in closely with that health axis. When we're talking about the 12th house and 6th house, being that it's in the 12th and it rules the 6th. And so that is one thing that I would kind of explore with this person, as far as like, how has that relationship been with just like your health? Is that something where, because for me, preventative maintenance is something that's really important for this. Like, so getting enough rest, making sure that you're moving the body. It doesn't have to be anything aggressive. Something that it could be something just as taking a walk every day, doing some yoga every day, just things along those lines. Getting outside. I think that would be a great one, especially if you find that because maybe I would think where, we want to be inside from time to time, but maybe too much confinement could be maybe problematic for some. So that may be something where you want to explore. Maybe if you, again, whatever sort of thing. Let's say, for example, if there was like something with like, maybe had troubles with the breathing, maybe if finance is available, doing something where you can take trips, maybe to places where the air quality is nice, or even just like moving altogether, maybe to places that have just a better air quality that can maybe help, or maybe being by the sea, having something where that kind of fresh water. So that would just be one kind of example there. But yeah, that would be a big one that I would kind of pay attention to. I would also think too with this one, considering that Mars rules that house of friendships, groups, alliances, I would be I'd be mindful, because both the sixth and the 12th house deal with enemies in some sort of way. The sixth house is more kind of in your face enemies, whereas the 12th house can be a more kind of behind the back kind of gossiping type of energy. So that would be something I would be mindful of too, how you're relating with other people. Another example is where, sure, like work tea, like it's, the work gossip. It's never that good. It's never worth getting involved in, because then, you say, yo, I heard from such and such, and then now your name is in the story and you're not even involved with the main thing, but somehow you're guilty by association. So that's just something that I would be mindful of. A constructive way really with Mars is paying attention, because again, Mars has that kind of cutting, separating energy. I'd be mindful again about the groups of people that you're running with. Mars can be associated with people who are experts in wrongdoing. And not to say that, you're attracted to just a bunch of, ne'er-do-wells. Ne'er-do-wells. But you know what I mean. But you just want to pay attention to that crowd, because then I find again, Taurus is a very attractive energy. And this is something too where another thing why this is kind of a tough place for Mars to be is because this is where Mars finds itself in, one of the signs that it finds itself in its detriment in. And that just means it's opposite from one of its home signs, which would be Scorpio in this instance. And so where in Scorpio, Mars is used to moving through things, has the power to transmute and move through stuff. Here, Taurus is it's heavier with Taurus, and so it can be a lot harder to move things. And that may be something too where, maybe if there's things that are coming up with the body, there may be some kind of association with the people that you're running with too. So that could be something where, those sort of energies are bringing you down. And it's one thing when people are going through tough times, going through 12th house, 6th house, 8th house things. That's one thing. But if it's become a thing that is just again with real kind of toxic relationships kind of weighing you down, you want to be mindful of those sort of things as well. Just thinking about something with pets, just thinking of, Mars again rules that sixth house. So I'd be mindful about just like, just animal things, just being, practicing, just like animal safety, especially if you work with animals, because there may be a more heightened chance for injuries. So, and that may be more so if Mars were maybe in the sixth house, that may be a bit more prevalent. But again, just because Mars rules this house, that would just be something I would just be aware of. I'd also would think too, even just Mars ruling this axis, this could be someone who's very involved in maybe you work in a place where people are confined in some sort of, it could be like a hospital or anything along those lines where, or whatever that might be. Maybe you do something in the law, however that may look, but that could be something where that Mars could show up there, where you're putting your energy towards those things. Considering that Mars is in a Caden house too, I pay attention to just kind of mind your energy levels. I could see where, being in a Caden house, there may be just kind of a chance there just for just kind of lower energy. It may take a bit to kind of build up, and this is not going to be for everyone, but just kind of pay attention, know your limits, and be patient with yourself. If that's something too where maybe if you find yourself working with some limitations of the body, and finding out how to work with those things, because the more you work with the body, the better it's like, the body do some incredible things, so that would be another thing that I would just kind of talk about there. And just being mindful too, thinking about the things, taking some time, I guess, for yourself too, to be thinking about what are you doing, what are your hopes and dreams, are the people that are around you a reflection of the future that you want to have, are they supporting that thing, and do you feel like you're able to contribute to their thing as well? So that might be something to kind of pay attention to, especially in even kind of be mindful of how maybe if you're one that tends to manage others, that may be something that I pay attention to, that sort of relationship there. And it's not that it's about being friends with everyone, but it's establishing that level of respect, I guess. And that's something where if you give that, then you receive that. And if you're not receiving that, like it's something where not allowing others to, if they're not giving that, if there's not that reciprocity, that'd be another thing just to kind of pay attention to. Just again, because there's such a heavy kind of enemies emphasis that's being pulled up with Mars there, and that's something that Mars is naturally prone to as well. So this would just be a lot that's coming from this Mars here. So those would be just some base things that I would kind of explore with someone with this placement. You definitely need the whole chart to get a better idea of how this may be manifesting for you. But if you have this placement or know someone who's working with this placement, feel comfortable talking about this, down in the comment section, let us know how this is showing up for you, what themes may be going up there, and how you've learned to manage with this over time. Because that's what I find, where it's not like just like hard all the time. Working with these placements, it gets easier with the experience as we level up on this journey here. So yeah, definitely leave that in the comment section. And if this is something where you want to explore your natal chart more thoroughly, or if you have any sort of elections that you want to plan, maybe you want to plan that trip to the mountains up high with the fresh air, that's something. Or if you got a wedding that you're planning, maybe you want to think about maybe you're going to change careers or whatever that's looking like. We could do some electional astrology. But down in the description box is a link to book a consultation with me. And if you have any questions as far as like about the services that I provide or anything, that my email's down there as well, so definitely feel free to reach out. And there's also a couple of links for some playlists down in the description box that link you to. One is the Celestial News Weekly, which talks about the sun and the other classical planets, what signs they're in, what signs are going to be most impacted, and how to most practically work with those energies. And then also there's one for the lunar shenanigans, and that just talks about the moon astrology, what sign it's in, what phase it's in, when it's going void, when happens to go void of course, and just to get a feel for each day, of how the moon is relating to each of the planets through any given week. So that's all available for you as well. So, but until next time, stay mindful out there. Keep raising that vibration through the roof. And I will catch you on the next one later.